We're live. Rogan Buddy, it's a pleasure to meet you in person.
It's nice meeting you too, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm sorry I'm not as well dressed as you are. But
no, it's all good. I got to go to work right after this, so you know what?
You're a businessman. You got your priorities straight. I just want to be cozy and comfortable around new people.
Definitely.
So, with that then, how you run Who Knew Media, right?
Yeah, I do.
Nice. So, tell me about that. How's that different now in COVID times?
Well, I started Who Knew. Well, let's probably figure out where I started it from, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Right out of high school, I took a year off.
Okay.
And again, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to go somewhere into the medical field. But actually, me and my buddies, we started like a vlog.
Yeah, nice.
Like just a stupid little vlog or whatever.
Play around.
Just playing around with it, and I was kind of interested in videography and shooting stuff and editing, and so that vlog kind of gave me an opportunity to just practice it a bit, have some fun with it, and so we did that for a little while, and after that, I figured, you know what? I'm getting pretty decent at this. I know my ins and outs of the camera and all of that stuff. What if I can go and try and sell this? See if any businesses, are going to be interested. So I went out and talked with like a bunch of little stores around Sudbury, especially downtown, because there's a lot of locally owned business there. Yeah. And I was really surprised that like literally the first person I messaged, which would be the candy store.
Yeah.
Downtown,
Oh yeah.
I messaged them and they were in it fully.
Yeah?
And
nice.
Like it was just that, like I did the video for them and I got paid. It was just a little amount of money there, but it was really cool for me to be able to take something that I did from scratch. There's nothing there, and I was able to earn a little bit of money from it.
Nice.
And that was kind of like the beginning of it, where I'm like, okay, well, you know what? There's something here. And honestly, it's been an interesting journey so far. I've met a lot of cool people.
Nice.
But you know what? Like for me right now, I'm still in the very beginning stages of it.
Yeah.
Even like 2 years later, right? Because I'm still doing school and stuff, so it's hard to balance both of those things.
How do you?
Honestly, for the last year, I've been focusing on school. I haven't really been putting a lot of work into the actual business here, but now that I'm back here, and because of COVID, actually, coming back to your question, COVID's given me a lot of time, where I don't have to be in class and stuff.
Right, so that time that you usually spend traveling and just mingling in the school.
I've been able to take that and kind of redirect some of that energy to Hunu, and it's been awesome. I'm just starting to take Hunu from, because originally it was just a video production company. Yeah. And now I'm starting to kind of slowly move it into the direction of like a marketing agency.
Interesting.
So it just happened super naturally. Like it wasn't like this was my plan. I'm gonna do this for this many years, and
just kind of flowed. The pieces kind of
like
fell into place.
It just fell into place in terms of like I realized after this summer, I realized, you know what, I don't want to be in science. I don't want to be doing all of that stuff after 2 years of uni.
What were you studying in university?
I was studying biological science.
Yeah, I have a buddy. Actually, we'll get to it later. Like I have a buddy who is he studied biomedical science at Carleton. Okay. And we're actually going to BC on Saturday. Next Saturday for 2 weeks, which we'll get to because I know you've been out west. Yeah. Because I've seen some of your photos. I'm like, man, that's cool. So I definitely want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, getting back to it. Yeah, I don't think that sounds interesting. Like it sounds like a tough program, but
it is.
I don't know unless I almost feel with those type of programs, unless your goal is medical school, you almost don't need that step.
No, for real, 100%. And that's something I didn't really realize going into it, because I'm like,
how could you though?
That's the thing. Yeah. That's why I'm not a huge fan of. I don't want to say the system. No, but you know what I mean. Like high school, it doesn't prepare you enough for life after high school. Which is, I guess, what we're here to talk about. So,
well played. Well played. Respect the plug.
So, And in high school, I enjoyed the sciences. I enjoyed biology and, chemistry and stuff.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, well, I was good at science in high school and I liked it, so I probably have to go into that after.
You studied at where? St. Ben's?
Yeah, I went to St. Ben's for high school. Great school, loved it there. And then when I got into uni, the first year I was like, ooh, this isn't really, what I had in mind. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what, let's stick it out another year, because maybe it's just all this first year BS, you know what I mean?
And it usually is,
And it usually is. And then second year, it got worse, and I'm like, ooh, I don't... did I make a mistake here?
Till they get you, yeah.
Exactly. And then I'm like, you know what, I can't spend another 2 years of tuition and time...
It's a lot.
Studying something that I don't even know where I want to take this.
Right.
So... Technically, right now, as of the moment, I'm still in biological science because I didn't actually have the grades to be able to transfer into marketing, which is what I want to do, because you needed 2 semesters of 70, a minimum.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So I had the 1 semester above 70, but I had the semester before at like a 68. So.
But that's what happens, though, when your motivation for it is
exactly
not really there, yeah.
So what I did now... and to anybody listening, this might be a good path for you, it's called shadowing. So basically, what you're doing is I'm still technically in biological science, but I know that I want to be in business.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm just taking all of the first year business courses right now while I'm still in biosci to get that 70 average, and then next semester I'll be able to transfer in and be a business student.
What?
Yeah. So it's a little risky because if I don't get into business next semester, then I've just wasted a full semester of non-science courses, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit of a risk-reward game there, but I'm pretty confident in my ability to switch next semester.
Yeah, and it seems like something that you want to do.
Yeah.
Especially, but now you mentioned a couple minutes ago you had an expectation for what you thought university would be. What was that like? Like, what was the initial expectation you had in mind? When you said, "Oh, this isn't it," you know what I mean?
It's a good question. I guess my initial expectation was for me to be, in courses that would actually benefit my life in a way. And that's why when I said like the first year, like it's just first year BS, I'll stick it out another year. You know what I mean?
Dude, I'll tell you a first year course I had in a second.
Yeah. So so I guess my expectation was like, okay, well, I'm not entirely sure what I want yet. I'm hoping that these courses that I'm going to be taking will kind of give me some direction and in a way that, like, that's going to be the path I'm going to take. And it just didn't happen. So, and I guess it did happen in a way. It told me that, you know what, I don't want to be doing science.
Yeah, at the price of $8,000 a semester or whatever stupid amount.
So, but you know what, Lo? Like, I can look at it as like, oh, I wasted 2 years and I wasted all that money. Or I can look at it like, you know what, at least now I figured out that I don't want to take that path.
Yeah, it's smart.
So, it's just 2 different ways of looking at it.
Now, in that first semester, did you have any courses that you took them going, what the hell am I using this for?
Like 90% of them.
90% of them?
For sure.
Yeah. What were they like?
I was taking physics. I was taking organic chemistry. I was taking... what else? Like 3 different bio courses. And I'm like, yo, what am I doing here? Yeah. Like, I failed my first physics course. I got a 32.
It's low.
It's low. That's not good.
Were you trying, though, to pass it? Okay, well, there you go, then. It's not like you were, I just can't understand it.
No, like, you know what, I just didn't put as much work in as I probably should have, but I just didn't have the motivation. Especially being in first year, like, it's all about partying.
No motivation. I remember exactly the same. There was I didn't do too well on a couple courses for that reason. I had one dude that was 2 to 5 on a Friday. Oh. You know what I want to be doing at exactly 4 o'clock? Anything else.
Literally.
Anything else. Like, even now, it's like, if my Friday doesn't end anywhere earlier than 4, I'm pissed. Yeah. But nowadays with work, it's like, well, I just kind of have to. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're few and far between. But, man, there was a class I had first year. It was on a Wednesday from 2 to 5. Or 12 to 3, sorry. 12 to 3. It was a 3-hour course. And the title, and I wish I could make this up, it was with Debbie. Good old Debbie. It's called Achieving Success in the 21st Century. Oh, wow. As a first semester college course, $400 retail price. It's the worst. Okay, it was all about, like, we had to do debates. Mm-hmm. We had to do debates and essays on moral situations and ethical situations in the workplace. Absurd things that didn't pertain to what any of us wanted to do, which was architectural technology. So we didn't care.
It didn't even make sense at all.
No connection. But at that point, that was the one where I made the most friends, had the most fun, and BS. I got so good at BSing just from that class.
100%.
Like those classes that you have no choice. Like, well, I want to pass it because I would rip my eyes out if I had to do this again.
Exactly. Right? And I think when you're in something that, you know, like whether it's a course or it's like an entire degree, whether you're in something that you're not like 100% about, it doesn't. You're not learning anything. You're just learning how to BS it. You're learning how to just get through it. And that's what I was finding with all these courses. I'm like trying to find like, okay, well, how am I gonna get this just the 60%? It's all I need, you know.
Yeah. How can I How can I figure out a way of learning this or showing that I've learned it without actually learning it?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And it's weird, but it works.
It works. It works, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It works.
Yeah. It's something.
Yeah, like I've just started like some of these business courses now, and you know what? Like my first lecture, I legitimately learned something that actually helped me in terms of this client that I'm working with.
Oh wow! Like now?
Yeah, like right now. So I think that's an important takeaway that I'm just starting to see now is like, if you're looking to get into a degree and you don't know like what to do, right? Mm-hmm. I think the best thing to do is just to figure out like, okay, well, you know, what am I doing now? What are my strengths now? Yeah. And then try and take a degree that's going to be benefiting that, if you know what I mean.
Interesting. You can like almost feed into your hobbies or your passion projects. Yeah.
100%. And I think that's pretty important in terms of like your actual schooling, because then you're gonna want to do well, because if you do well there, it's gonna help you, and it's just a nice feedback loop there.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And now, do you mind sharing what that thing you learned was and how it relates to the client you have now?
Sure.
I'm curious about that. If you can, because I know there's obviously client confidential at a certain extent.
Yeah, no.
For certain industries.
It's nothing like that.
Okay.
So pretty much, I was just learning about the evolution of economics. Mm-hmm. And so basically, like, they were just talking about, you know, how originally stuff went from, you know, we had goods that were commoditized, and then it evolved into, then it evolved into actual, like, services. Yeah. So from goods it goes to, from goods it goes to commodities, and then from commodities it goes to services. And and now in today's age, we're kind of phasing out of that service-based industry, because now services are becoming commoditized. So really, what people are looking for now is experience. It's a weird like a little meta. It's a little meta because like you're like buying experiences, but that's really what it is. So a good product now, or a good company now, will be able to take a service or a good and kind of package it with an experience that a customer will be able to, you know, go and remember. Yeah. And you know, it is interesting. And so obviously, like, that is something that I can try to apply to my client, even though I am offering him a service.
Yes,
100% I can try and make that service as, like, involved for him in a way that he doesn't have to do any work, right? So, like, I'm trying to make this like little this client here, I'm trying to make him think about his own business in a way that's beneficial to him, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not just trying to go out here, okay, here I'll do your Facebook posts, here I'll make your website, boom, there, it's done, okay, now you're in the same spot. Who does that help? I mean, he's got a website and he's got some Facebook posts now generating some leads, but really, that doesn't help him. No. Really, I want to make it an experience for him where he can actually take away from some of the stuff I'm offering and learn from it, and being like, okay, well, you know what, this is my ideal customer, and this is how I should be trying to target them, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, so it was just that one little 13-minute video that the prof gave me, or gave the class rather, and I was able to take that and be like, that's interesting. Maybe I should try and look into it.
Yeah, how does that affect, or how does that come into play? Now, could you give me an example of a current day, like a commodity and a service? Because I've heard the word commodity, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Okay, well, like, just off the top of my head,
no pressure.
Yeah, no.
If you can't, don't worry.
If I can't, I'm just gonna go with.
I ain't testing.
Parachuting. Parachuting.
It's like an experience.
It's an experience. Yeah. Not only are they making money by you're buying their service, which is parachuting or whatever, and you can buy their, I don't know, merch, whatever.
Merch, yeah.
Sure. But you're also getting an experience, right? You're like, oh, that was amazing. I've never done that before. Let me get all my friends. They're gonna love this, right?
Oh, okay.
So just something like that.
Yeah.
So really, like, and in terms of what I'm doing, again, what I just said, like, my experience for my client is learning and education for him. Like, this is what I'm doing in terms of running your social media. This is what I'm doing in terms of your SEO and your website and all of this stuff. And I'm walking him through it in a way, not in a way that's like bothersome to him, like where he's having to take time out of his business.
Yeah.
But in a way that's like, this is what I'm doing and this is why. Right. So that, because I'm not going to be with him forever.
No.
But I do want to add as much value as I can by giving him information that he can use on a daily basis to help his business.
No, that makes sense.
So, really everything is just all about maximizing value.
Right. And now,
for sure.
Do you do that by trying to elevate your SEO as much as possible? I try to bring that up so that when people type in whatever they need, his pops up no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. So. Nice. That's one way of doing it. There's a few other ways of doing it that I'm still, again, like I'm talking here like I know everything about. Like, I'm literally just starting. I am in the very beginning stages of this. I'm learning all of this.
Well, that's it though, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you have you seemed to, like, especially from what you said, one of the first lectures you had, you picked up a video. That means like the intention that you had, you were in the right place.
Exactly.
Right. So, fuck, what am I doing here? I don't know why I'm here. Why is this? What am I learning? It's like, oh, I could use that 3 years later.
100%,
or something like that.
100%. Yeah. And that's something that I wish I knew earlier. You know what I mean? Like, I found that when I've stopped worrying about, like, where I should be or who I should be, that kind of thing, and it's getting a little deep here, but,
go for it.
Like, when I stopped worrying about that kind of stuff, all the externals, like what people think and, like where society says I should be at 21, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I started focusing on where I'm just at right now, and I'm focusing on, okay, well, what am I interested in? Where are my strengths? What could I be doing now that's gonna make me money, if you know what I mean? And then take that stuff and invest all the time that you would have wasted on worrying about what other people think or whatever, and you take that and invest it in learning something.
Man, that's phenomenal that you say that, because the other day I was at breakfast and somebody, like, Buddy was comparing himself to one of the women in the group we were with, and he was saying, well, you're this age and I'm this age, and we're in the same programs, and I'm like, I look at him and I was this close being like, God damn it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Dude, it doesn't matter at all.
Like not even a little bit.
Yeah, like, I can't, it would be disrespectful for you and disrespectful to myself if either one of us started comparing ourselves to the other. Like, I'm like, man, I don't know. It's like,
100%.
why? There's no good that can come out of that.
Not even a little bit.
You're not going to get any more productive. I think all that time spent worrying about me or where I am or my videos or my followers, anything. 100%. All spent not doing something that can make your situation better. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to pay my rent. I'm not going to pay yours.
No.
But I'll gladly sit down and talk with you for however long about your company and what you've learned and stuff to help elevate either that or elevate my show, draw new viewers, or bring new clients. Like,
that's it, man.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's all it really comes down to.
100%.
And just hearing the comparison, you saying now that that's something that you've kind of gotten off of, and I know we're getting in depth here, but I had when I had Ryan Benoit on the show, right, of Positive Inception, I had him on, and that was something that he talked about. And then 3 weeks ago, I had my buddy Caleb Balan on here, who same exact thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, so everybody at the same, and me, I'm like, I was like that as well a couple years ago. But it's something that people realize, which is the biggest part, right? It's that fixing an issue is realizing you have the problem to begin with.
100%.
And you're saying it, they're saying it, I've said it, you've realized that's an issue, and you're like, well, this is silly to think this way.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think everybody at some point will figure that out.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of when. And you figured it out early.
Yeah,
so it's kudos to you.
100%. So, like, that's the thing. Like, I would, like, go and say to, like, well, all the people listening in high school right now, like, you know what, don't worry about what people think, all that stuff. But, I mean, that's tough. It's going to be nearly impossible for them to listen to some random guy named Rogan tell them, hey, be yourself. You know what I mean? It's definitely a journey that you will figure out in time.
Yes.
But you have to figure it out by yourself.
Yeah, you can't just. I could tell you, you could tell them, whatever. They're not gonna. And man, like you said, like I have my cousin. He's 15 or 16, and he's driven a lot of traffic to the show because his dynamic is kind of what I'm trying to get. Yeah. I think if people listen to what your stories are, my stories, other people's stories, I have on the show, and they're listening to that, and they see, okay, like Rogan's been saying this. Why are they're like, oh, I listen to his story. I really resonate with what he's going through. You know, everything. How can I use that? But then the next day they go to school after listening to the episode, and everything around them is the same, except their mindset's different.
Exactly.
And then they eventually get swooped back in, right? Yeah. Product of your surrounding.
Exactly. So it's really hard in an environment like that.
It's the worst.
But as long as you're starting to realize that at that young of an age, especially, you don't have to be doing it. You know what I mean? But as long as you realize that, you know, you are not what other people think you are. Yeah. And you are just who you are. Yeah. As long as you just start realizing that and start putting that into your head, the second you leave that environment, you're going to be way better off than all of your friends.
Miles ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Because dude, honestly, you want to know what it was for me? It was, and I'll go back to your vlogging. How comfortable did you get hearing your own voice on camera after you vlogged for a bit?
Oh, I never got comfortable with it.
No?
Never.
So no?
No, that's why I like being behind the camera, to be honest.
Oh, on the other side.
I like being on that side of the camera.
Interesting.
But, like, I didn't get comfortable with the sound of my own voice. It's just a weird thing, like, whatever. You know what I mean? What I did get comfortable with was I did get comfortable actually putting content out there.
Nice.
And then promoting it on my own private Instagram accounts and whatever. That's what I got comfortable with. Because at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is embarrassing. This is so cringe.
What are people going to think?
All my friends are going to make fun. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm having fun doing it.
Who cares? I'm on top of a mountain right now. I don't give a crap.
100%.
I'm in South Africa right now. Who cares?
Yeah.
Nice, dude. And that, because when I went through Europe, I vlogged a lot, and man, definitely got more comfortable putting it out. Yeah. Which is why I'm glad the podcast is doing how it is, or growing as it is. I shouldn't say doing really well. Getting better. Yeah. Which is the goal. But what I was saying was there's a confidence you get after doing something out of your element so many times. Your comfort zone kind of begins to grow, right? Yeah. And you're able to, and it's able to grow. And people don't, I think, generally speaking, don't know that that's a thing it can do.
Yeah, right?
Like you said with parachuting, great experience. I'm sure if I did it 5 times, I would get more relaxed.
Exactly.
With the building up of the nerves and everything.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Have you ever been parachuting though? I've never been parachuting, dude.
Parachuting?
Or skydiving.
Yeah, I went skydiving.
What the?
I went skydiving, what was it? 2 years ago, maybe sometime in the summer. Me and my friends went out, drove down to Toronto.
Nice. That's a good spot.
Yeah, it was just a fun little road trip for the weekend. Honestly, the scariest part about skydiving is when you get into the plane and it's going real high, and you're like, okay, this is probably good, and then it keeps going. You're like, are you gonna stop soon?
You found your limit, and you're like 10,000 feet above it. What am I doing?
Why am I here? And then you're literally strapped to this guy, so you don't have your own like opinion on when you're gonna jump. You're strapped to this dude, and he's like, "Okay, we're going now. 1, 2," and then he doesn't even finish the 3 count.
Of course not, because people hold on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's out of there, and then once you're out of there, though, Honestly, it's the most relaxing and cool thing ever.
Stop. Really?
I'm no word of a lie.
What is that like?
Well, okay, the
just
first
bliss, or?
Yeah, honestly, you're just kind of like the first 2 seconds you're free falling. You're like, oh, okay, this is windy, and then you're like, oh, dude, this is really cool. Because at that time you feel safe, right?
Yeah, you're like I'm here.
I'm just here now. What's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? And you're looking down at this earth barreling towards you, and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And you're looking at your buddy over there, and he's like, ah. And you're falling through the sky together, and he pulls the chute, and then you're just there, and you're like, the free fall's about 10 seconds ish, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't counting.
Yeah, that's good.
But then the he pulls the chute, and then you're just kind of gliding over the earth, and you're there to just you can.
That's sick.
You can.
That's sick.
Yeah, honestly,
Oh, man.
if anybody ever gets the chance to go parachuting and skydiving, 100%, yeah.
Damn, because
And it is worth
it
is worth the extra $100 to get pictures.
It is.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Man, that's sick. Because I have a buddy right now in Australia, and him and his girlfriend parachuted over the coast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and see, you light up, and you're like, I can only, and I'm like, because I'm trying to put in my head when he told me, but my question to him, which is my question to you, I asked him how long ahead of time did you know that you would be jumping out of a plane? What you guys jump? He jumped 15,000. I'm sure it was probably the same.
This is around that, yeah.
So okay, it's not 38,000 like a commercial airline, but it's also not.
It's high.
It's high, dude. It's high. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's about 15,000 feet, and I was like, "How long?" And he's like, 6 weeks, and I was like, "You knew for a month and a half you were gonna jump out of a plane?"
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's what would get me.
I think 6 weeks is enough to psych me out. I didn't have that kind of time. I think I had a week.
Okay, I think that's safe.
I think that's the way to do it. To be just spontaneous. Be like, you know what? Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. Get your friends.
All right, we're here.
Drive down. Book a hotel. Go. Yeah.
I think that might be the way to do it.
I think so too. Because I do overthink a lot, and I knew if I had that kind of time and I've never done it before, I would be like, oh no, and then I'd be YouTubing all the ways parachuting can go wrong. You know what I mean?
Over prepare, even though at the end of the day you have zero control when you're falling out of a plane at 15,000 feet.
Yeah,
that's absurd. So what happens then if your chute doesn't go when you pull it?
Well.
Does he have a backup one or?
Yeah, so I didn't pull anything. I'm just there for the ride.
Experience.
For sure. For your first time, that's what happens, right? They just strap you onto someone else.
Oh, that's not bad then.
But he's got his main chute, he's got a reserve chute, and you know what? If those don't work,
go to somebody else, grab them, hope for the best.
Hope for the best.
The odds that 2 parachutes in the same place. Yeah.
No, but you'll be so fine. If you go skydiving, they're all professionals. They know their stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, there's legitimately nothing to worry about.
Well, that's good. I wonder now, what was it like being in a plane with the door open?
Loud.
Loud? Loud and windy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something because I've heard 3 people talk about skydiving. You, my buddy, and my buddy in Australia, and then Will Smith when he does that speech, right?
Such a good speech. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
So yeah,
and
what a guy.
I want to try it, and now I think that in the matter of 3 weeks, 2 people tell me they've gone before. I'm like,
maybe there's something to this. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost feel like when I go out west in BC, if they have it.
You should definitely do it.
I might have to.
Because my only real complaint with my experience skydiving is it wasn't the most scenic view. You know what I mean? Way out in the distance, I could see the CN Tower and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But for the most part, it was just big flat fields below me. So it wasn't crazy stunning or whatever.
Jumping out of the plane was probably the experience of it.
That's the main experience there. But if I were to do it again, I'd want to do it somewhere like BC, anywhere like that with a little bit of some more scenic views. You know what I mean?
And I think that'd be it. That's what I would want to do. Whether the people I'm with would probably want to do it, that's a different thing. But you went out west not recently though, eh?
No,
last couple of years.
Yeah, like 2 years or maybe 3 years ago. I'm not sure on the exact day there, but yeah, I went out there with my parents and my girlfriend at the time. It was awesome. We drove from here all the way down to like Victoria.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was I've obviously never seen Canada like that. I've only ever been in Sudbury. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was really cool to see all the different provinces, and Manitoba's boring. I'll tell you that.
Damn it, because dude, I was looking it up, and we're going. My buddies are coming down on Saturday. Going Ottawa to Sudbury. I'm driving from Sudbury to the Sault. We're gonna get a meal at my buddy's folks' house, and then going Sault Ste. Marie to Winnipeg.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the longest leg.
That's long. Yeah.
It's gonna be crap.
Yeah. Make sure you got lots of audiobooks.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean. Yeah. For me, I like audio. I love audiobooks. On road trips. No. I start every road trip listening to like music.
Yeah, and then it gets boring.
It gets boring because I know each song's like only 3 to 5 minutes, and it's only been like 5 songs. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's only been this long.
15 minutes, so many songs. Yeah.
Exactly. So I always throw on audiobooks. Just helps to pass the time faster. Yeah. I find, and you're actually feeling like you're learning something.
Right. You're not wasting your brain time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know you guys went over Superior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that like?
It was awesome. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, it was awesome. I got lots and lots of pictures. That's when I was just kind of also starting out photography too.
Oh, cool.
So it was a really fun experience for me to like just have a camera and take pictures of whatever piqued my interest, and obviously Superior piqued my interest for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, no, it was awesome. 10 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, because I know when I go to Winnipeg, I gotta go. Yo, how sad were you when you found out Henry's closed?
Bro, honestly.
Sensitive subject.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Because I was so pumped. I was so pumped because I'm like, okay, cool. I got like a little bit of extra money now. I'm gonna go buy a nice tripod and a nice light kit. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Got into my car. I didn't even check. Got into my car, drove all the way there, and I'm like,
there's
what?
Nothing in the
Where's
store.
Henry's?
Dude, I can imagine.
It was brutal.
Oh no.
It was brutal. So now I'm still without tripod and still without light kit. But
I can't. I'm not ordering online.
Yeah.
Although it's free for anything over $99 to order to ship to Canada.
I think I'm gonna just have to do an Amazon order, man.
Yeah. I need to get more Canon M50 batteries because I only have the one. Yeah. It's still good. Like we can record 4 30-minute clips and it still have battery.
Yeah. It's always good just to have a spare.
Always, right?
Always have a spare. And a spare SD card. All the time. You gotta make sure you have those.
I definitely have a few of those though.
Perfect.
But Winnipeg is the next place en route that has a battery. That has a Henry.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
gotta conserve that battery time, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. That's
vlogging it at all or what?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. Go
awesome.
on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna throw that up.
I'm definitely watching that series.
Decent.
Yeah. Sure.
I'll talk to you about it now then. What do you think, in your opinion, would be the best way to break it down? I know you're not like YouTube expert, but like you seem like a pretty knowledgeable video guy. Yeah. So I'm curious how that would look best. Instead of just like day 1. Yeah,
day 1, day 2 is a little boring. Yeah. I think if you have the time to stop at landmarks and stuff, I think that could be a way. That could be one way of doing it. Like interesting. Like maybe like if like legs, like doing legs of a trip, like the first leg, the second leg, like
Sudbury to Winnipeg.
Sudbury to Winnipeg road trip, part 1, that part. You know what I mean? Something like that. Yeah. And then like wherever you stop, there's tons of like in Wawa, there's that big goose or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can like I don't know if you stop there, just like that kind of thing, right? Yeah. Stop at like a cool landmark or whatever, and then kind of just talk about the journey that got you to that part.
Right.
And then the next part, and the next part, and if you find like little nuggets of wisdom along the way, or like little tips, like hey, always bring a spare tire. I don't know, something like that. You know what I mean?
That could happen for sure.
For sure. So something like that. Okay. I think that would probably be the best way to break it up to make it interesting.
That's what I want to do.
Day 1, day 2, day 3. Yeah. So
that's what I think would be. That's how I kind of want to approach it. Mm-hmm. I never thought of that, like landmarks, eh? Yeah. And like talk a bit about the history, like actually be.
For sure.
I'll tell you one thing. I definitely will have. There's 5 people. I definitely won't be driving the full 4,000 kilometers.
You can't be doing that.
I'll lose my mind.
My buddy actually just did that. He he moved from he lives in BC.
Yeah.
But he was living here for school, and he just graduated. So
congrats.
he took a U-Haul with all of his stuff, and just him by himself drove from here all the way back to BC.
What?
Yeah. So that's pretty cool that he did that. Wow. I don't know how he did it all by himself. I would have lost my mind being by myself for that long.
Yeah, no kidding. So you've been across Canada. Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm curious about something then. Mm-hmm. First of all, though, I'll start by saying this. Congratulations. Recently you became a Canadian citizen,
yes, correct? I did. Yeah, about a year and a bit ago.
Yeah,
probably.
I was like, I know it's been a couple years.
Yeah.
But recently, too.
Very recently, considering, how long I've been here.
Yeah, so how long, take me through that. So where were you kind of born, and then what was the stages like? I know we talked about it briefly.
Yeah, so I was born in Cape Town, South Africa. I lived there for the first year of my life, and then we moved, we just moved around like a little bit to maybe Johannesburg or something like that. But then I think our first big move was, and again, this is all the stuff I've been told. I was a kid, I don't remember a lot of it. But then we moved to Ghana, lived there for X amount of time.
West Africa, eh?
Yeah, and then we moved to Zambia, which is still in Africa, and then we moved to, where did we go? I think we moved back to South Africa for a little bit, and then we moved to Tanzania.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Tanzania. That was awesome. I remember Tanzania very vividly. It was really, really cool. We had like a little pontoon boat made out of like oil drums, and we would have a barbecue.
That's in Africa as well, eh?
Yeah. It's on Lake Victoria.
You said Tanzania?
Tanzania. Yeah.
What am I getting it confused with? Tanzania? Is that it?
It's just
Tasmania. That's what I'm getting it confused with,
that's
dude.
What it is.
So I was like, that's in Africa. That's not right below Australia, no?
No,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's right on Lake Victoria there. We lived in a little town called Mwanza. It was awesome. Beautiful. Yeah, we had a little pontoon boat with oil drums and a barbecue on it.
Oh, wow.
We'd go fishing off of it and straight up pull the fish out, barbecue it on the boat, eat it there.
You'd eat it after 15 minutes after catching it.
Yeah.
It doesn't get more fresh
It doesn't get fresher than that, man.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a really cool experience. And then from Tanzania, we moved, because my dad was with Orica at the time.
Nice.
So they have a lot of operations here in Northern Ontario. So we moved from Tanzania to Canada in Sudbury. And then I went to St. James and Lively in grade 4.
Jump.
Yeah, right.
Of all places.
And then I lived there in Lively for about from grade 4, 5, 6. So, and then I moved back to South Africa for grade 6. I had to redo 6 just because of the time difference in the schooling. And then, so I did grade 6, 7, and 8 there. And then came back to Sudbury again after that. And so now I've been here since about 14?
Wow.
So in total, I've lived in Canada for about 10 years. And just got my citizenship last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the culture like? From what you remember, what was the culture like in Africa or in some of the cities and countries? I've never been to Africa, but I almost don't want to bring this up, but a lot of people, I say they resonate people who don't eat so much with being African, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's just like
find a way of asking you about it by bringing this up, because that's how like people, I think, generally think
of Africa.
Africa,
right?
All
these people in little huts who never eat, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you know what? There are parts of Africa where that is true, for sure.
Right. There's also parts of Canada that are like that too.
Exactly. It's just like the way that, I don't know, I feel like Africa doesn't get a lot of media attention. No. At all, really. Except for 2010 with the FIFA World Cup there.
Yeah, that was huge.
So that was huge. But and South Africa is a weird place for that because, you have these massive camps, right, where these thousands of people living in complete poverty, right, in little tin shacks, and then 15 minutes down this way, you have people living in gated estates.
Wow.
So maybe not 15. That's a bit of an exaggeration,
yeah.
But you get the idea, right?
Close.
It's so Like, the juxtaposition there is just insane.
Yeah.
Where you have people living, like, on less than $1 a day or whatever, and you have people living in, you know, these beautiful houses, going to private school, stuff like that. So, yeah, I would say it's a bit of both, to answer that question. I'd say the culture isn't crazy different, like, from what I know.
Yeah, what you remember,
and from what I know in South Africa and what I know in Canada, it's not like too different. Obviously, there's like differences in terms of dialect and, you know, what we value. But yeah, like I personally found that school pride was a really big thing there. So we had like these things called houses. So like you would be split up, almost like in Harry Potter, right? What? Yeah. So we would all have like different colors, and we would wear suits and ties to school. Oh. And so our ties would have like the color of our house, and we would have, you know, these days where you know, you're all competing in house events and stuff, and see which house wins.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was something really cool that I wish was kind of implemented here a bit more. The other big difference about schools there is, after school every single day, you have an hour and a half of mandatory sports.
Mandatory sports.
So So I played rugby and water polo.
Nice.
So every single day after school, I'd be in the pool or on the field for an hour, and that's just the way it was. And when I came here, I'm like, sports? Like, what? You don't have to do sports? I'm like, oh, sick! I don't have to do sports. So I didn't do sports. Except for rowing, I did rowing. So.
Yeah. But now, I know you did rock climbing as well.
Yeah.
How'd you kind of get into that? Especially because that doesn't quite sound like water polo and rugby.
Yeah.
Very different.
It is different. I got into it through Ben.
Oh, nice! Really?
Yeah, because we were really, really close in high school. He's a great guy. And
oh yeah, he's the best.
Oh yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And you know, he's always been into that kind of stuff, and he got me, you know, into the outdoors a bit more and camping. And
nice.
He even got me a job at Ramaco's, which was my first job here.
Oh, that's sick. Wow.
Yeah, it was just that kind of, you know, being around him. He was into these kind of things. I'm like, oh, this looks really cool.
Yeah, he's got some pretty cool like hobbies and stuff.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Especially like, and that's the other thing. Like when I was saying, like, you should be in school for what you already like doing. Yeah. He is the perfect example of that.
The best example for it. 100%. Yeah.
And that's why he's happy, right?
Yeah.
He's happy
always
doing
in a
what he
good
wants.
mood.
He's always learning stuff that he wants to be learning. So, yeah, like I kind of looked at that even a little bit. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I should just do what I'm already doing in school. So, yeah, he's a good example of that for sure. But yeah, through Ben, pretty much. I got into climbing. We went to when ARC opened up. That was awesome.
Yeah, sweet place.
Yeah, we started off at like the Laurentian.
That bouldering
section. Yeah, we did that for a little bit. Then ARC opened up, and we were like some of the very first people to be in there. And we did like the competitive team there for a little bit. I won the 2016 Flash bouldering competition there, and then that was kind of the end of it for me. I'm like, I won. Okay, well, I'm good now.
I can do some things.
Yeah, so I haven't really been climbing after that. But I do miss it though. It is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, I had so this quick story I want to take up seconds ago about I had Ben on the podcast, and then after the podcast I was like, dude, can you roll a kayak? Like, can you? And he's like, yeah. Like, it was a silly question. And that's why I'm glad I didn't ask on the show. That would have been embarrassing. But I was like, hey, now are you good enough to teach me how to do it? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, sweet. When can I learn? He's like, what are you doing now? I was like, well, putting my equipment away, and that's about it. He's like, you can come over now. I'll show you. And I was like, all right, cool. And I'm like, sweet. So I ripped my house, dropped my equipment off, grabbed my bathing suit, rip over to his house, meet him, and he's like, all right, get the skirt on, get everything on, and he's like, we spent like an hour and a half, and he's just showing me how to roll a kayak.
That's awesome.
I was like, what is going on?
Did you learn?
4 hours. Yeah, dude, I could do it. I was like, this is nuts. Yeah, it's sick. Yeah, I was pretty hyped up about it, and I've done it since, too. I was like, man, this is wild. So, because that's always something because I've grown up in like the summer camp and outdoor center, like, life. And that was always something I've seen higher level people do in camping and tripping. Because I'm more of like an intermediate tripper, whereas I think Ben would be at that higher level for sure.
Definitely.
Tripping. And when I was like, man, like, oh, you guys at that's that upper level. I'm like, if you could do that, that's the next level shit.
People see that and they're like, damn, he knows what he's doing.
That's it, dude. Yeah. That's what I thought when he said it. And he said it with like a,
yeah.
So like, whatever. Dude, man, I can teach. I was like, sick. Let's go. Yeah, man. Yeah, so it's pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool thing to learn, and I definitely think if people more take the initiative, and kudos to you though, because you didn't just stick out, like you're not just sticking out the 4 years of school or 5 years of school, however long your program is. It's 4-year bachelor, right? Yeah. You're not just doing 4 years and then going to business.
No.
You're like, all right, I want to get this.
Yeah, I want to get it done. Yeah, exactly. Damn, what was I gonna say? I forget.
That's okay. What was it pertaining to, you think?
I forget.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll get back to it.
Well, yeah, no, it'll come back.
Yeah, that's the, so yeah, props to you for that, because I think that's something that I don't know if a lot of people would be able to do.
You know what? It's a bit of, it is like it's not scary, but it's like unknown, you know what I mean? Like you're like, I don't know if this is the move, I don't know if I just want to admit, I think that's it, I think it's like, I don't know if I want to admit to myself that I made the wrong decision and that I wasted these 2 years.
Right.
So that, I think that was the big thing for me to, you know, because I was like, yeah, I want to be a chiropractor, I want to be in science.
Yeah.
And I think I just had to admit to myself eventually, I'm like, you know what, it's okay. You know what, you made a mistake and it's fine. You know what, and my parents were thankfully really supportive about it. So
that's, I think,
that made it really easy. And my friends, you know, my best friend, he was in engineering at Laurentian, and he also just switched into business. So it kind of just worked its way out like that. And I think when you stop stressing about stuff, things just happen, and you're more okay with it that way.
Nice.
Yeah.
With that, I'm really curious about how, do you find it that was the first big adult mistake you made? You don't have to give me specifics of other ones or anything. But
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mistake.
Yeah, I mean, like
decision.
Like, what do you expect? You know, if you're just throwing these 18-year-olds and being like, "Hey, choose what you want to do for the rest of your life." Yeah. What do you expect? A lot of them are gonna make the wrong decision.
Yeah. More often than not, yeah.
And you know what? That is 100% fine.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, I know it's easy to say like money's just money, but it's really it's like the rest of your life. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that you get that right. And that you're on the path that makes you happy, not the path that you think people would respect you more. You know what I mean?
Which goes back to what you said at the beginning of the show, where it doesn't actually matter
exactly
what they think of what you're doing.
100%.
And that's something that, and I think what's cool that you've realized now is I think that'll propel you to do more with your media company and with the production and transitioning it into the marketing. And I think that's all some with the show I've noticed, where at the beginning it's like, well, I don't really know if I want to ask these people. I don't know. I don't know. A week ago, you didn't know.
I had no idea.
Like, whatever. We have like 8 mutual friends, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably less. And it's like, I don't know this dude. It's like, hey, yeah, get him. I'm like, hey, I know you from what Ben says about you. So I'm like, well, he's recommended you. Might as well reach out.
Sure.
So I'm like, boom. I have like it was like, it's on my list of cool people I want to talk to. Boom, hit him up, chat about it. Oh, he's in? Perfect. Easy. Boom, next thing. Research, everything. So I'm like, all right, cool, like that.
Yeah.
That's that process that I'm just in the past few months, almost like right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. Because
everyone kind of, I think, gets pretty depressed during that cabin fever COVID time.
Definitely, yeah.
So that was somewhere I was like, man, that's tough to deal with. But having that confidence to reach out and then take those steps when you don't know what people think about it.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I'm glad you did though, because like this is awesome.
Yeah, me too. Man,
great
thanks,
time.
Man.
This has been really
buddy.
cool. Along the lines of that, how has your podcast been going?
So, man, I love it when people ask me questions back. It's like, great, this is it. So, in terms of, I was actually talking about this the other day with somebody. They told me they were like, they've watched the first episode and then they watched the episode 40 with Ryan. Mm-hmm. And this is like episode 42, so this is awesome. And he's a good friend of mine. He watched the whole thing, but I listened and I went back and watched the first episode of the show and was like,
oh yeah.
I was like, the fact that it has like over 300 views and like 50 plus downloads is hilarious to me. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know how, and those are like the actual numbers. I look it up and I'm like, this has like 48 downloads. Yeah. Last time I checked, which was like a month ago. And I'm like, 48 downloads, and then it's got like 360 views or something. Like, how does that? Yeah. What? Right. So, but it was a tough listen, and that's like it was. I almost feel like in the moment I wanted to drag it out as long. I had never done the podcast by myself. I always had like a buddy to bounce off with. Yeah. So it was quite literally. How'd this start? Tell me how you got to Sudbury. What was Guelph like? What is your favorite? It's like
stuff like that. Just super like scripted.
Yeah, and it was rough. Yeah. It was rough to be honest, but now it's gotten to a point where I have people. It's gonna sound like there's many of them, but I've probably had a handful in the last month or so see me in person, be like, "Hey man, I love the show." This is when I knew.
That's awesome.
This is when I knew. Thanks, brother. This is when I knew that I had not made it, because that's not a real thing. Yeah. But the moment that I knew that, I was like, okay, this is actually something that not just my close friends see. Yeah. Right? The 50 people I know. But it's was when I go in to get my hair cut. And I sit down, and the woman goes, she knew my mom, but that's just because they're like, that's her hair client. So mom recommends me to her, whatever. She's like, hey, I'll cut your hair for cheap. I'm like, perfect, that's all I want, right? I go in. I sit down, she's like, Glenn, you have a, Glenn, right? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you do a podcast. And I was like, what the hell? Yeah, I do. How do you, my face light, I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, here we go. That was all my fault. And, so I was like, man, I was losing it. And, now let's plug it back in and then I'll hit record. But I'll cut that out. Shout out to not doing it live.
Yeah, right? Doing it live is not the way to go. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah. So, with that then, oh man, that was fun. So with that I was like, jumping up, I was like, man, let's go, like, this is great. Yeah. And then I was like, how'd you know? And she's like, well, I have this person on Facebook, and you had them on the show, and they're a friend of mine, and then they were sharing it, and I watched it, and I was like, it was really good. I'm like,
that's awesome, man.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and it's that's kind of how it's been going. I think it's just reaching a point where people are not only aware of it, but it's also, I think it's something that I used to be, this is crazy though, I used to be really intimidated to ask people to come on the show, simply because they have more followers than me. Yeah. And that's just it. That's just how it was. So I'd start off and be like, hey, I'm going to ask a few friends of mine. And then when I started to get a few people on who, it was the first person I think it was who asked to be on my show. Okay. When they're like, hey, when are you going to have me on my show or on the show, whatever. And I was like, that's when it kind of, I stopped giving a crap about how many, I think it was like episode 6 or 7. And they're like, hey, I'll be on your show, whatever. And I was like, who cares? Like, who cares how many followers, anything that they have? And that was real. Like, that was something like in the first probably 2-3 episodes that was preventing me from almost reaching out. But now it's a matter of, I've had people with less, and because that doesn't, I automatically affiliate that with the amount of time that they have for others. Yeah. And that's usually true, but then at the same time, they all seem pretty interested. And I've had probably at least 10 people go, hey, when can I be on the show? Yeah. Or I like what you're doing, I want to be on the show. And I'm like, you got this marketing agency? I think I had a buddy, Cliff Skeletor, shout out to him. He is training here, and I had his buddy on the show, and he runs the marketing for Launchpad Creative. Okay. And that's his thing. Yeah. And so they got like Sudbury 5, the Sudbury Wolves, everything. And I think you like get in touch with him.
Yeah.
As like a mentor for you.
Definitely.
I think that'd be sick.
I
can link it up. I think
that'd be awesome.
Super nice guy, everything. And for what I think you're trying to get into, I think, and like trying to branch in, I think he'd be like a pretty sweet dude.
That would be awesome, yeah. Because everything up till this point, and not just with the business, but like everything in my life, I've learned just by myself.
Yep.
And that's the other thing is like YouTube is phenomenal. Massive.
Underrated for it, for
always.
Sure. Yeah.
Like even like I think I told you I had like a little podcast with my friends in Guelph. We were basically just doing like MMA talk, talking about UFC and stuff like that. And so even with that, I had no idea how to start a podcast, equipment, all of this stuff, like how to edit it. And so YouTube was phenomenal for that. So
I've watched a few tutorials for sure.
It's
as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Super
like
helpful.
Any troubleshooting thing, like why is my digital interface making this sound? And you just Google that.
Yeah.
And you got the solution right there. But just really quick on the podcast. Running a podcast is not as easy as it looks.
No, it's way more challenging.
It's way more challenging. Just trying to find guests, trying to edit it takes forever. Trying to sync up the video. Yeah,
not to mention being very. You have to be prepared
always.
So, but that's I think that's something that's no, a podcast is not as easy as it looks. Definitely right.
Yeah, and it you know what, and I commend you for this because
thanks, buddy.
It's a grind.
Let's go. It is.
If you're like genuinely sticking with this thing and you're making you're making content all the time, it's a grind because you're not. It's not like getting a client or whatever where there's an immediate payoff, right? Where you client boom, okay, there's the cash, and it doesn't have to be cash. It can be followers, likes, whatever. Yeah. The thing with starting a podcast, I'm sure you found is. Like the first little bit of the grind is it's not like it's not disappointing where it's like, oh man, I put a lot of work into this one, I'd only got 2 views, whatever, you know what I mean? But there is that little bit of a grind where it's like you're producing content but nothing's really happening, and I think now you've left that stage and you're on more of a huge trajectory where it's and that's when it gets exciting, right?
That I'm in it now.
So
I'm in that exactly.
That's awesome for you. I'm happy for you. That's awesome, bro.
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's and I like that you did one, and I wish that sounds like a cool one to stick with. You had a pretty sweet fighter on too. Eh?
Ian McCall.
Yeah, that's sick.
That was honestly the guy's got 80,000 followers. He fought Demetrius Johnson.
Jesus Christ.
He should have won that championship. Yeah. I'm not gonna get into that a little because I don't know if the fans into MMA or whatever.
Yeah.
But the score was added wrong for that fight.
Yeah.
The score was added up wrong, and he didn't get the belt against Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse. But I literally just made a meme.
Yeah.
And I made a meme or whatever, and I sent it to him. I'm like, hey man, are you cool if, because there was a picture of him and then put some text on it or whatever, and I'm like, hey man, are you cool if I use this for my meme page? Because my buddy started a meme page about MMA and stuff, the casual guys.
Nice.
Quick little plug.
Yeah. I'll put it in the description for sure.
And then, so he was like, yeah man, that's awesome, that's really cool. And then so I was like, also, hey, by the way, we are starting a podcast. We haven't actually done an episode yet, but we're starting a podcast soon. And I would love if, you were able to come on it.
Ciao.
And he's like, sure, that's awesome. Yeah, 100%. He's like, sure, that's awesome. And so we talked a little bit. He's super into, not psychedelics, but into the benefits of, mushrooms and microdosing and stuff like that for sports performance.
Interesting.
Really, really interesting stuff. And he's kind of, on the forefront of it in that industry, which is amazing to talk to him about.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys peeled back that layer.
It wasn't just fighting. Fighting, he says he doesn't even watch fighting.
Wow.
Yeah, because, that's part of his old life, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, great guy. He's doing some really interesting things. And yeah, it was wild, because, I was sitting in my basement in a house in Guelph. Yeah. Just some university kid from Ontario. Yeah. And I'm on Skype with Ian McCall. What's going on here?
I think that's something that, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That you're able to. I don't think people realize how actually intimidating it is to reach out to somebody
like that big too.
upper class, like higher, an elite level of anything.
Exactly.
Right? It could be elite level business, athletics,
whatever. Yeah.
Like education, something. But it's definitely something that I think a lot of people don't realize. That's how I have to, and that's what I'm like. There's slowly the way of. I'm trying to build for future guests by like just commenting on their stuff, engaging with them, and being strategic about it.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
And like, there's some pretty sweet people I've lined up, or I'm trying to get lined up, or that are like in the works. That when I do eventually pop the question, I'm pretty confident it'll be like, yeah.
It's not just like a cold call.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, I just followed you. You don't know me. It's like, remember when I comment on for the last 6 weeks or something, but.
100%, bro.
There was one. What was it? I had so if you're not familiar, there's this comedian who I grew up watching named Ron James, and he's Canadian. He's had a program on CBC. He's toured Canada doing stand-up shows.
Okay.
He lived in LA, everything, and doing comedy, and that's his thing. And I reached out to him once. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna take us to your concert. I'm excited to meet you. My brother and I have this podcast. It's back in the day. Not my brother, my buddy, but. And I was like, hey, we have this podcast, come chat.
Yeah.
What do you think? And he's like, yeah, sounds good, man, looking forward.
That's awesome.
It's like, what? And like, he follows me to this day, and there's people, I'm like, what the hell? Like, how does that happen? That's why that's what I've come to realize, that was like 48 subscribers, we talking to him, like that, a few hundred views, but I got to go to a show, I got to meet him, have like a 40-minute conversation with him in his dressing room, backstage, just sharing everything he can. Yeah. And I'm like, first of all,
wild.
Different level of storytelling.
For sure.
As you can imagine. Like, he's using alliterations all the time. I'm like, just trying to keep up. As well as I'm shaking because I'm nervous because I've looked up to this guy since I was a kid. Yeah. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And then when people interact like that, that's where we're at with the show now, and that's where I think it can develop. So, like you are, though,
to be, man.
Similar,
definitely
beginning stages, though.
Yeah, for sure.
But it can definitely grow.
And honestly, like, we're in like this perfect time with the social media and stuff that like these people that we think are like so far above us, they're still so accessible.
Oh yeah,
it's literally just one Instagram DM. They're one DM away. So that's it.
Literally.
Everything that you want is just one DM away.
That's it. It's easy. It's freaky. Like, there's a buddy Cliff there. He because I was telling you over Instagram too that like video production and something is like where I think this could, if it ever does develop into a business, that's where I think it could go. But with that, excuse me, I think I was telling buddy Cliff, and he's like, hey, I have this friend of mine who works with, who produced the Michael Bisping documentary.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, dude. And so he's like, I'll send him a message for it. So send him a message. He's like, this is his name, this is IG. I sent him a message, and I was like, hey, man, buddies with Cliff, had him on my podcast, blah, blah, blah. I think eventually I will ask him to be on the show, but I think I'd more of like a mentorship whenever I have questions about it. Would be better off for now, because busy guy. But so he lives in Toronto, and he's like, yo man, like he's like, I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is it. Yeah. He's like, well, any friend of him or any brother or friend of Cliff's family to me, man, it's great.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, you're taking the time right now to chat with me, dude.
Yeah.
Your last photo is you with Vin Diesel and Michael Bisping, and then this other guy who produced with you.
Jeez.
Why are you talking to me? Like, man. So with that, I was like, and like Bisping's talking, like they're commenting on each other's, but I'm like, what?
That's wild.
Like you said. One DM away.
Exactly, man.
Craziest thing ever.
Yeah. That's still something I think would be such a cool, like, Will Harris, the guy who produced Anatomy of a Fighter. Yeah. That is still on my bucket list. Yeah. I would love to be able to do something like that.
That is sick. Yeah, that would be something pretty cool.
For sure. You're getting to meet all these people that you watch all
the
time.
Khabib! What's going on? Smash. We'll get one thing I want to talk about, though. Do you think Khabib versus Gaethje?
Yeah. Khabib.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Same way as
every single one of his other fights, dude. He's just gonna take him down and smash.
Just smash.
I think Justin's gonna be his hardest opponent for sure.
Yeah. Which isn't saying
much.
I mean, I still think you're right though.
Yeah. What I'm like, that fight's gonna be exciting, but I'm much more excited for the Adesanya Costa fight. Oh, that's gonna be unreal.
I think Adesanya is just gonna. He's a counter striker, right?
100%.
And so every time Costa's gonna come forward, he's just gonna do some Matrix shit.
Exactly. Just
pop him a couple times.
You can't knock someone out. You can't touch. So what's Costa gonna do, man?
He's not gonna. I think it might. I don't think it'll be like Romero and Adesanya, but I do think it'll be.
I think it's gonna be more like a Whittaker fight.
That'd be sick. Yeah. I think you're right, because that was same thing. I think he's gonna come forward and he swings like wild with his head up. Yeah. And I think Adesanya's gonna slip one, catch him with an overhand, and Costa's gonna go. It's gonna shake him a little bit, and Adesanya's just gonna. He doesn't strike me as somebody that when that happens that he just heads down and just throws the kitchen sink. I think he'll clip him and then back up, go in a bit. Yeah,
like he always says, he doesn't throw and hope. He aims and fires, and I think that's exactly what's gonna happen with Costa.
So good.
Yeah.
You did the podcast in Guelph, but what was that like? Guelph.
Never
been.
Amazing. Yeah. I loved every second of Guelph. I'm honestly like, because of COVID and the rent situation there and everything's online. I'm having to be in Sudbury this year, which I'm really disappointed about because Guelph is awesome. I had an amazing house there with great roommates, my best friends. So yeah, I was loving it there. Nice. The campus is beautiful. They got like nice gym, nice squash courts, everything on the campus there. The actual town itself is really fun. The downtown is cool. It's got nice vibes.
What's it like? Like, what can you relate it to?
The way I describe Guelph is I describe it as a mix of Sudbury and like Ottawa-ish.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's it's very agricultural there, which is like the Sudbury kind of thing. But then it also has like kind of bigger city vibes, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I do, yeah. Because I went to Ottawa for 4 years, and believe me, I spent enough time in the downtown scene to know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's they got bars, they got stuff going on there, lots of business. But then at the same time, it's also agricultural. Like, it's got lots of nature, lots of trees everywhere.
Nice.
That I was actually gonna go to Ottawa U originally. Yeah. I went to the campus, and I just wasn't digging it.
Ottawa U is not the greatest campus. It's just too downtown.
Buildings and more buildings, cement.
So there's 3 big schools mainly, I think, in Ottawa, right? There's Ottawa U, Carleton, and Algonquin.
Yeah.
I went to Algonquin.
How was that?
Oh man, it was good. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
But I'm relating to it this way with the way the campus was, because but all my buddies who I'm going with out west, they went to Carleton, so spent way too much time there. Yeah. And I dated a woman who went to Ottawa U and lived like on res and stuff. So spent again way too much time in that campus, and then I went to Algonquin. Dude, I think Carleton is too secluded. Ottawa U is too busy. Algonquin's right in the middle. Yeah. That'd be your style of campus.
That sounds exactly like my style of campus. I don't like the big city life where it's like hustle bustle all the time, but I also don't like being away from it all. And I feel like Sudbury's a little bit away from it all. Yeah. There's not a lot going on here. Yeah.
But Ottawa downtown is hustle bustle. So
too much.
In the middle.
Exactly in the middle, and I love it there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick, dude.
It's really cool.
That's sick. So, I think with that then.
I think we had a great chat. Thank you for having me on. No, dude, I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate your time. I love what you're doing with the media. I love your mindset and the way you're attacking it, and I only see the best coming out of you from now on.
Thanks, brother. So, hopefully, in a couple months, once I got some more stuff going on, I'll hop back on.
Dude, I love that. Yes, that's what I like to hear.
That's awesome. What I want to do. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, man. So that's it. All right, guys. Appreciate the watching and the listening, and we'll talk to you soon.